All right. For the next song, I'm going to go ahead and go into. This song ended up being um, one that I really enjoy playing live whenever I get to do solo gigs. This one's the Elysian Fields. Next song we're going to go ahead and go into is one of the newer songs that I've written. This one's called A Journey into the Ancient Ruins. Next song I'm gonna go into is gonna end up being a song that I ended up writing or after I ended up, hearing of my father passing away. Just kind of, was at a loss for words, so I kind of worked through, my feelings on the guitar, and this is a song that I ended up writing called For Dad. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and go on to the next song. I've actually got a few covers that I like to do. This ends up actually being one of my favorite guitarists, Randy Rhoads, ended up writing a song for his mother, and it was called D. One more cover for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Music Monday, New Mexico. This song ends up actually being, it's the inspiration as to why I play guitar. Because I remember the first time listening to the band Black Sabbath, little 13-year-old me, and like all you hear is like the intro for Black Sabbath, and I was just like, you know, I was like, I want to do that, So, the thought that whenever like the day that he was supposed to end up, quitting his like day job in the factory, he ended up cutting off two or three of his fingertips like in the machine, and so he still ended up. It was on his fretting hand. He still ended up like. Playing, still making it, like nothing stopped him. So I have a lot of respect for Tony Iommi, and this is one of his more classical pieces. So thank you for tuning to Music Monday in New Mexico. Last song I'm gonna go ahead and do is my take on elevator music. This one's gonna be called Elevate R.
Hi, welcome to Music Monday. I'm your host for today, DeSanti Nava. Sitting with me today is Chris Riggins, who happens to be one of the producers of this show. So thanks for taking some time out from editing to come and play.
Yes, thank you. Don't worry, there'll be plenty of editing in the post.
So, why don't we get to know you besides just as being an editor? Tell us more about your music.
Okay, so um, as a musician, like I ended up graduating from Eastern New Mexico University with a Bachelor in Science in Music, and I just ended up making it to Santa Fe, you know, and we've just been trucking through. So I've got a bunch of classical guitar that I end up really liking because it negates it negates electronics, it negates all of this stuff, and it's really a focus on technology. Um, then we end up having stuff like underground cadence, where we end up having our rock and blues, and you've been showing me how to do that, and I do end up having a Sabbath tribute band. Get to do a bunch of Black Sabbath, which is ridiculously fun. And then I've learned a lot about like recording. So what that ends up doing is, it opens up the studio. So you can end up just kind of like playing around and finding like new sounds out of the, your instrument that you're like, oh, I've done everything with that. Wait a minute, I haven't done that with chorus. So it's definitely a slippery slope. But I'm all over the place. Play the trumpet as well, um, you know. So keep things as diverse as possible.
Did you start on trumpet or you started on guitar?
So I started on the trumpet. Whenever I ended up making it to sixth grade, I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I want to play the saxophone. And he was like, okay, we'll see. He went to the local music store. And he found out how much it costed to rent a saxophone. He was like, "Nope, you're playing the trumpet." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna be a trumpet player." So like the first year, it was funny because the first year I was missing the cork in the spit valve, and so every time I would play, it would just sound like this dying like cow. But I was like, "I'm trying. I don't understand how." And so first day, seventh grade. My band teacher, band director looks at it. He's like, "Oh yeah, you just need a cork." And then suddenly the trumpet was like so much easier. It was interesting because at that point, I already had like a year of lost time because I put like so much effort towards something that I didn't know was broken. So. But
That must have been discouraging.
it was absolutely discouraging. But there was one time I ended up making second chair out of three chairs, and I was like, like in hindsight, I'm like, how little did the other guy practice? But it was kind of like the light and the flip of the switch as soon as like I ended up having it. I was like, oh, this is how this is supposed to feel. This is like, I've been working way too hard. And so, it took me a little while because everyone was already like a little bit ahead of the game. And I remember like having to fly through this like chair test. Like band director's like, either you play the chair test or I'm going to send you to the office. So I was like, and I ended up playing it, and I was like, what? That just happened. And so afterward, I like went up and I apologized. I was like, sorry. So yeah, I started with the trumpet, and I got my guitar for my 15th birthday, and it was actually my brother's guitar, because he was going through that stage where he wanted to end up learning how to play, and he never ended up playing. So instead of my parents buying me a gift, like they just gifted me my brother's guitar. I was like, oh, best birthday ever.
I was going to say, I don't think you were disappointed with that.
Not at all, not at all. Yeah, one of the things that I keep saying is the reason I know that my parents ended up loving me was because they got me an amplifier. And it wasn't
Yeah.
one of those that you have the headphone jack. Like, you heard some stuff.
That's love.
Oh, yes, absolutely. To be able to put up with some of the sounds.
So you heard Sabbath, wanted to play guitar,
Yeah.
and now you have a Sabbath tribute band. How does that feel? That must be like,
Yeah, it's very freeing. Because all the time that I sat there and just the power and the intensity. I just remember as a kid just listening to that music, and I was like, there's nothing as powerful as this. I remember going up to my mom one day, freshly after getting like that CD. I was like, Mom, who's Lucifer? And she told me. I was like, oh crap, that's one of those questions I don't ask my mom. Okay, thank you, bye. And so now that we're playing through these songs, it's kind of interesting from the standpoint of you can kind of like see from, like you can analyze the song. You can end up seeing just how good or not good their song structures are. I mean, there's a few songs that you're just like, okay, guys, like Paranoid was filler. They're like wrote it in like 5 minutes. But it's fun outside of having to sing like Ozzy, because that it has definitely improved my range dramatically. But there was a lot of squeaking going on trying to get there.
and you write music as well.
I do write music, yes. So I end up, I have my classical guitar. I do end up having a thrash project that I'm working on, and co-writing in that. And I haven't really gotten to it for a little while, but I just love writing metal. Just being able to get in and like kind of program, like orchestrate everything. Like the metal turns into my orchestra. I have
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, any timbre, it's the different mentality from like a jam band, sort of environment. Like I end up enjoying the sound of that, but if I'm gonna sit down, like I end up doing that, and I'm also working on a Sabbath-esque inspired sort of like EP, you know. So I can end up, having that. I'm like, I'm not going to put all that work into my voice and not, showcase that in some way. Like that's, like, like not just Sabbath. It's like I have to have another vein, another resource to end up just kind of, putting it out for.
Which feels like the better outlet for you? Playing Sabbath or playing acoustic? Because you're also writing acoustic, classically inspired, which gives you more outlet.
I mean, the classical guitar from the standpoint of, you have to make it sound as big as possible. You are, like, if I'm sitting there and I'm, playing the nylon string, like that's my piano. If you're sitting there and you're playing Black Sabbath, you're laying on your power chords, you're laying on your pentatonic scale. There's not a whole lot of like, you can get into these modal sort of like centers, but it really doesn't call for it. And it really, I will try to end up like getting like modal on like some of the solos, and I'm like, no, because that like stylistically, if anything, you would like go like Dorian during the solos and just like add that raised six on the B. But he was laying into like a 5-note scale. It's very, very much formulaic. But at the same time, if you end up having an entire band just, kind of, half stacks, like there's a different energy to it, but from the more freeing standpoint, it's definitely going to end up being Mellow String.
And you've been nominated for a New Mexico Music Award this year.
Yes, I have. Excited. I saw that they were actually having that live this year, like later July. So I'm excited to see, see if my song gets nominated. It's Baile, it's Deserto Azul, and it was nominated for Best Song in World Music, and so that whole song is kind of like my spin on like Latin music and blues, so
Right.
just end up having your Black Sabbath-esque riffs thrown in with like the Latin sound, just where appropriate. So I'm very excited for that. Hopefully I win. If not, as always, next year.
Well, we wish you the best of luck with that.
Definitely.
And then you also have a home studio.
Yes, I do. Keep building it out a little bit more. Just ended up having my upright Chickering piano, even this morning, was tuned up to A440. So just got like this giant freaking grand piano chilling in my house. Moving that thing was not fun, but like I think we're pretty set up for anything that I end up needing, shy of recording drums, because there's places that you can end up easily doing that. But today's day and age, you just need to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Like there's so many things that you can counteract things with. So
Do you feel like you can get more creative when you're mixing and mastering, or when you're playing and writing?
It's hearing it from a different perspective. So once you hit the mixing and mastering, like suddenly it's not as much listening to the music as it is listening to the sonic field, which is, it's so weird, because if I'm playing, I'm listening to the notes. I'm listening to where something should resolve to. And if I'm sitting there and you start getting into the mixing and mastering, suddenly you're listening to like the relation between your bass and your bass drum, and like how to end up like fitting those in a little tighter, because it's already recorded, it's already there. And so it turns into manipulating audio in real time.
Okay. So do you ever find days where you're saying, God, I wish I was recording, or I'd rather be playing?
Yeah.
Is one way heavier than the other?
I mean,
Because I think they're outlets both ways, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I feel like I need to get. I really enjoy recording, because then it's, you have something like rather immediately, and like it kind of forces you to like think of the hook, right? As opposed to you sit down and you jam, and you're like, okay, well, this is a cool idea. And then you come back to your instrument the next day and you're like, let's do this complete different thing, because I forgot what I did, and so it kind of like forces you to sit down and you're like, okay, this is an idea. Like, how do we get from point A to, point B? Like, how do we make this a song? As opposed to, okay, let's revisit that, put that on the back burner.
The back burner.
The back burner.
So music is magical, right? When it's happening, you feel the magic.
Absolutely.
Recording, you have a completely polished song when it's all said and done. Do you prefer the magic of the moment or the polished at the end?
Magic of the moment.
There's nothing like it.
Absolutely not. I mean, and you can sit there and you can, as far as my studio, like I I will go this route, and like anything that I've recorded that like has been like came out really good is like the musicians came in just well prepared, and you can freaking hear it. You know, like there's you know a bunch of cats will talk about, oh well, you need a better compressor, you need a better preamp, you need a you know you need to end up having, oh, you need to sidechain this. And, you can end up having that, but if you don't have the talent initially going in, then suddenly it's, there's a reason why, like, recordings like the Beatles or like, when I remember just like listening to Tom Petty recently, I was just like, okay. So, it's very much catch-22. We have the technology, which is awesome. Everyone's like single, like multi-tracking. We're able to communicate through these like very different, very weird sort of like ways. Like you think of musicians like freaking back in the day, like Haydn and all of this, like they're like literally like you weren't able to see good music. You were the good music. Was it Mozart was like he worked. He was commissioned specifically for I don't remember who it was, but you don't go out and listen to live music. You don't support the scene, like. But now we're at a point where we end up having like all this technology that we can end up like sharing ideas with. And it just turns into being able to sit down and utilize that within the context of what it needs to be seen as.
Okay, so this song that was nominated, Deserto Azul, is that out on CD right now?
So that is actually on my Bandcamp. So I'll go ahead and make sure to end up having that on the show. That way you guys can find it, but it's bandcamp.com /Chris Massacre.
And you're also on Instagram.
And so Instagram is at Chris Riggins Music, and then Facebook I've got Chris Riggins music page.
So how can we find your CDs, your other one?
So everything can be found on Reverb Nation.
Reverb Nation, okay.
Yeah, and Bandcamp's actually the more reliable. That's the one I keep a little bit more up to date.
Okay, all right.
So.
Well, it was good having you here with us today. You're here on International Make Music Day.
Yes, very excited about that. I mean, if I hadn't tried to make music, umpteen million years ago, I wouldn't be here. So there's definitely something ridiculously powerful to be held, within music. So, if you have an instrument lying around and you don't know how to play it, just do some research. We've got YouTube. We've got, you've got resources, and the world is kind of opening up. But, do yourself a favor, like dig into it. Like it can end up being absolutely rewarding and just a fun little, stress reliever at the end of the day, if nothing else,
I agree. Well, thanks for sharing the evening with us, and I'm proud to have you as part of the team here on Music Monday, and hope you enjoyed today's show. Chris Riggins. I'm DeSanti Nava. Thanks for joining Music Monday, New Mexico.
Bye.